The aroma of sizzling bacon and the soft clatter of ceramic plates filled the spacious yet comfortably lived-in kitchen of Mr. Alexander Alex Vance's suburban home. At 52, Alex was the unassuming founder and CEO of Skylink Airlines, a global aviation conglomerate renowned not just for its technological advancements in air travel, but for its unparalleled efficiency and unwavering commitment to customer service. Despite his immense wealth and the vastness of his empire, Alex remained intensely private, especially when it came to his family. He preferred the quiet hum of innovation and the tangible impact of his philanthropic endeavors to speak for themselves rather than seeking the blinding glare of public recognition. Alex was a widower, having lost his beloved wife Eleanor far too early. Her memory, however, was a gentle guiding presence in their home, particularly in the upbringing of their two children, Maya and Caleb. The twins, intelligent and sensitive, now 10 years old, were the absolute center of Alex's world. His mornings weren't about power breakfasts or urgent conference calls. They began here in the sunlit kitchen, meticulously preparing a wholesome breakfast for his children. He'd crack eggs with practiced ease, his movements deliberate, his thoughts focused entirely on their well-being. He'd pack their lunches with a mix of nutritious snacks and a small handwritten note, a simple joke or a word of encouragement, a tradition they all cherished. As they ate, he wouldn't just ask about their school day. He'd engage them in earnest discussions about their dreams, their challenges, and the complexities of the world around them. Maya, he might say, gesturing with a piece of toast, if you could design a plane that could fly to the moon, what would be its most important feature? Or to Caleb, how do you think birds know where they're going without a map? He nurtured their innate curiosity, patiently explaining the principles of aerodynamics with folded paper planes, or tracing intricate flight patterns on a giant world map that hung in their living room. He didn't just want them to be smart, he wanted them to be good, to understand the importance of character and empathy, values he instilled in them above all else. His quiet moments with his children were the bedrock of his existence, a stark contrast to the high-stakes world he navigated professionally. This particular Tuesday morning, Alex was preparing for a crucial board meeting about Skylink's groundbreaking new sustainable fuel initiative, a project poised to redefine aviation's environmental footprint. The stakes were incredibly high. Just an hour before he left for the office, a frantic call came from his junior executive, Leo, a brilliant but perpetually anxious young man. "Mr. Vance, I am so sorry." Leo stammered, his voice tight with panic. "The projections for the Sustainable Fuel Initiative. I made a critical error in the cost analysis. It's a significant miscalculation, and the board meeting is in 2 hours." A lesser CEO might have exploded in frustration, especially given the gravity of the situation. But Alex's response was characteristic of his leadership. "All right, Leo, calm down," he said, his voice measured. "Breathe. Tell me exactly what is the error and what steps have you already taken to identify it." He didn't publicly reprimand, didn't chastise. Instead, he calmly talked Leo through the numbers, patiently guiding him to identify the misplaced decimal. He helped Leo correct the mistake, meticulously double-checking the figures himself, with an almost instantaneous recall for complex data. Then he gathered his senior team. "This is a learning moment," he stated, looking at them all. "Mistakes happen, especially under pressure. Our job is to support each other, identify issues quickly, and move forward." Leo showed courage in admitting his error, and we as a team will ensure we're all stronger for it. It was a powerful save the cat moment, showcasing his compassionate leadership and unwavering commitment to his team. As he finally headed out the door, he made sure he had his sleek black Skylink Platinum Executive Access card clipped discreetly inside his jacket pocket. It was a marvel of minimalist design, bearing only the subtle Skylink logo and an encrypted digital code. No name, no title. This card wasn't just for privileged access. It granted him unparalleled control over all Skylink Airlines operations, including the authority to override protocols and directly communicate with any flight control center in the world. He viewed it as a tool for unvarnished observation and, if necessary, ultimate intervention, a silent, powerful key to his vast, intricate kingdom. He rarely needed to use its full capabilities, preferring to trust his leadership team, but its presence was a constant reminder of his ultimate responsibility. A week later, Alex stood in the bustling Terminal B of a major international airport, a place that, despite belonging to his own vast airline network, he often observed with the detached eye of an incognito inspector. He was taking Maya and Caleb on a much-anticipated trip to visit their grandmother overseas, a cherished annual tradition. It was a time for genuine family bonding far removed from the relentless demands of his corporate life. They were flying on Skylink Airlines naturally, but Alex had intentionally booked standard economy class tickets under his family's regular last name, not Vance, and without any special waivers or VIP treatment. This was a deliberate practice, allowing him to experience his own airline from a regular customer's perspective. He wanted to ensure Skylink truly lived up to its customer service promises for everyone, not just the privileged few. He had even specifically requested that their flight details not be flagged to airport staff seeking an unfiltered view of his airline's operations. Maya and Caleb, their faces alight with the innocent glow of anticipation, clutched their small personalized backpacks. Caleb, who had a mild sensory processing sensitivity, wore noise-canceling headphones of familiar comfort against the cacophony of the busy terminal. Maya, ever the caretaker, carefully held a cherished, slightly worn comfort blanket, a memento of their mother. They were well-behaved, a testament to Alex's patient upbringing, but their excitement for the journey was palpable. Alex guided them through the throng of passengers, observing the general efficiency of the check-in process, the swiftness of security, and the cheerfulness of the ground staff. So far, so good. As they approached their boarding gate, Gate B12, a woman in her late 40s stood stiffly surveying the queue with an almost predatory gaze. This was Ms. Beatrice B. Stone, the gate manager. B was known throughout the terminal for her rigid adherence to rules, her efficiency bordering on robotic, and a subtle yet deeply ingrained bias against certain passenger demographics. She prided herself on maintaining order and avoiding unnecessary complications, often interpreting minor deviations from protocol as deliberate attempts to bypass rules. She saw Alex, a black man, accompanied by two lively black children. Immediately, she assumed they might be problematic passengers or attempting to exploit some loophole. She believed they might be trying to board with excessive carry-on items or attempting to avoid baggage fees, her mind already making dismissive judgments based on their appearance. As Alex and his twins approached the gate, boarding passes in hand, B's eyes narrowed. She didn't offer a welcoming smile, just a cold, assessing stare. She flagged them down, her gaze fixed on the children's small backpacks and Caleb's headphones. "Excuse me?" She barked, her voice sharp and impatient, cutting through the usual boarding announcements. "I need to inspect those bags. And what is that child wearing on his head?" Her tone conveyed not a request, but a demand already accusing. Alex, surprised by her abruptness, remained calm. "Good afternoon. These are just their personal items, well within regulations," he explained, politely gesturing to the small backpacks. "And Caleb's headphones are for sensory comfort." B, however, dismissed his explanation with a dismissive wave of her hand. Her eyes, cold and calculating, swept over the children, then back to Alex. "Those backpacks look too large," she declared, her voice rising, drawing the attention of other queuing passengers. She then cast a disdainful look at Maya's comfort blanket. "And what is that? An unauthorized item. It must be consolidated or checked immediately," she then loudly stated for the benefit of the now attentive crowd. "It looks like you're trying to sneak extra bags on. We have strict carry-on policies for international flights, sir. Perhaps you should read them more carefully next time. We can't have just anyone disrupting boarding procedures." Her comments, delivered with a smug, self-satisfied air, were designed to publicly humiliate Alex and his children. The public denial of boarding, based purely on her prejudice and her assumption of their non-compliance and lower status, struck Alex with a chilling force. His children's innocent excitement moments before so vibrant was already starting to wilt under the weight of her accusatory glare. A quiet, terrifying fury, cold and chilling, ignited within him. The typically cheerful ambiance of Gate B12 had curdled into a palpable tension, a direct result of Ms. Beatrice B. Stone's harsh, accusatory tone. Her voice, sharp and unyielding, seemed to hang in the air, stifling the usual murmurs of excited travelers. Mr. Alexander Alex Vance, accustomed to navigating complex corporate negotiations with grace, felt the familiar prickle of prejudice, a cold, calculated affront. Yet his initial irritation quickly gave way to a detached, almost scientific observation. This wasn't just a personal slight. It was a glaring flaw in the very customer service ethos of his own airline, a flaw he now had the opportunity to analyze and critically to rectify firsthand. Ms. Stone, I assure you my children's backpacks are regulation size, and the blanket is a small comfort item. Alex stated, his voice calm and even betraying none of the quiet fury simmering beneath his composed exterior. His analytical mind, always seeking precision and truth, couldn't tolerate B's vague, dismissive assertions. I'm happy to demonstrate they fit the sizer, and our own Skylink policy clearly allows for small comfort items for children. He maintained eye contact, a subtle challenge in his unwavering gaze. B, however, wasn't interested in facts or company policy. Her face, usually a mask of rigid efficiency, was now flushed with a self-important indignation. She saw Alex's composure not as dignity, but as a stubborn refusal to accept her authority. Sir, I've already told you we don't have time for passengers trying to bend the rules, she declared, her voice rising, designed to assert her absolute control and dismiss him. She snatched a metal measuring device from beneath the counter, deliberately and aggressively forcing Maya's small backpack into it, then Caleb's. They fit, albeit snugly. Barely within limits, she sniffed, refusing to acknowledge the clear fit. She then pointed an accusatory finger at Caleb's noise-canceling headphones. And those are they medical devices? Do you have documentation for that? Because if not, they are also unauthorized electronic equipment and must be stored immediately. Caleb, already feeling overwhelmed by the commotion, looked bewildered and instinctively withdrew behind his father's legs, clutching his father's hand tighter. They're for sensory comfort, not medical, Alex explained patiently, his voice strained. Many children use them in noisy environments. They don't require documentation. Look, sir, B snapped, ignoring his explanation. I've already told you. Your children's items are suspect and you're causing a delay. We have a flight to board. Either you comply or you won't be boarding this flight. I can deny boarding if I deem you disruptive. She deliberately made her pronouncements in front of Alex and the growing crowd of curious, now uncomfortable passengers, ensuring maximum public intimidation. She believed this public display of authority would intimidate Alex into immediate submission or retreat, thereby validating her instincts and showcasing her firm control. Her every movement, every word was designed to emphasize his persistence and his inability to comprehend her instructions, implying he was attempting to cheat the system and was a difficult passenger. Alex's jaw tightened imperceptibly. Denied boarding. This was becoming a public spectacle, and his children were clearly distressed. The thought of being physically removed from his own airline's flight, a flight he owned, was almost surreal, deeply insulting. Yet he remained rooted to the spot, his quiet strength a stark contrast to B's escalating bluster. His resolve solidified. This woman and the culture of inflexibility and prejudice she represented would not dictate his family's experience, or more importantly, the experience of any future passenger on Skylink Airlines. Just then, a figure clad in the smart blue and gold uniform of a senior flight attendant approached the gate. This was Sarah Chen, an experienced professional who had quietly worked for Skylink for over 20 years. Sarah was a quiet, observant woman, known for her genuine customer service, and her deep, albeit unvoiced disapproval of B's increasingly rigid and discriminatory practices. She had been watching B's rude and increasingly aggressive behavior towards Alex and his children, a knot of concern tightening in her gut. She knew that Skylink had recently undergone significant restructuring, and she understood the implications of new powerful ownership, taking a discreet look at their operations. She harbored a quiet hope that the new ownership would bring about much-needed changes to the airline's sometimes overly bureaucratic and uncompassionate frontline culture. Ms. Stone. Sarah began, her voice calm and even attempting to de-escalate without directly challenging her colleague. Perhaps I could offer a solution. The company policy on comfort items for children is usually quite flexible, especially for international flights. We want to ensure all our young passengers are comfortable. She subtly tried to intervene, her eyes subtly flicking to Alex and the twins, a silent message of reassurance and apology for B's behavior. But B, blinded by her arrogance and convinced of her absolute power, dismissed Sarah with a contemptuous wave of her hand. She saw Sarah as too lenient, unprofessional, and unwilling to enforce the standards B so vehemently protected. "Just stick to your cabin duties, Sarah. I'll manage the gate issues." B snapped, her voice tight with impatience. "There's nothing for you to do here. These passengers are being disruptive, and I've already called airport security. Get ready to have them escorted out." She then turned back to her own phone, demonstratively dialing the airport authority's security line. Alex observed this exchange, his mind processing the layers of bias and incompetence. B was not only prejudiced, but also utterly inefficient and destructive to the customer experience. He knew he had to intervene decisively, but not before B had fully incriminated herself. His children, sensing the escalating conflict, clung to his legs, their small faces etched with fear and confusion. He felt a pang of guilt that he hadn't revealed himself sooner, but the integrity of his observation required patience. He decided it was time to play his hand, subtly ensuring only the right people understood its significance. With deliberate calm, Alex reached into his jacket pocket. He pulled out his sleek black Skylink Platinum Executive Access card. He didn't state his title, didn't make a grand gesture. Instead, he quietly slid the card across the polished counter, pushing it gently towards Sarah, making sure B saw the movement, but couldn't immediately grasp its full devastating significance. "Sarah," he said, his voice low and steady, a profound calm radiating from him. "Perhaps this will clarify our boarding eligibility." The card, with its subtle, almost imperceptible Skylink logo and its encrypted digital code, was an anomaly. It was a rarity, a symbol of ultimate unstated authority. Sarah, a seasoned professional, saw the logo. She recognized it instantly. Her eyes widened imperceptibly. She knew. Skylink Platinum Access was reserved only for the highest echelons of the company. This was no ordinary passenger. This was the founder, the CEO. Without a word, Sarah quickly and discreetly retrieved a small hidden terminal from beneath the gate desk. She scanned the card. The terminal immediately flashed a single unmistakable message in bright red letters. "Authorization level CEO. Immediate system override." Sarah's face paled as she saw the readout. Her mind raced. This wasn't just a disruptive customer. This was a catastrophic failure, a direct affront to the highest authority within their entire corporate structure. She quickly, silently made a discreet call on Alex's behalf, bypassing B to the Skylink Global Operations Center. Her voice hushed, but urgent. Code red: Executive Incident. Urgent attention required. CEO on site, gate B12 flight disruption. As the phone rang on Sarah's end, B, oblivious to the quiet seismic shift that had just occurred, continued to berate Alex. "And don't think you can play games with me, sir. I've seen your type before. Just because you have a fancy piece of plastic doesn't mean you can dictate terms in a Skylink gate. Airport security is on their way." She puffed out her chest, utterly convinced of her triumph. Suddenly, a powerful, commanding voice answered Sarah's call, amplified faintly by her discreet phone speaker. It was a voice that, while unfamiliar to Alex, held the weight of ultimate corporate authority within Skylink's global flight operations. "This is Mr. Ethan Hayes, head of global flight operations for Skylink Airlines." The voice stated, his tone sharp with alarm. "What is the nature of this code red, Sarah, and why do I hear a public disturbance at gate B12? B, still gloating in her victory, was completely unaware. The trap was sprung. The true power had arrived, and it was about to dismantle her entire world. The vibrant hum of Terminal B, typically a backdrop for excited chatter and hurried footsteps, was now pierced by the rising alarm in Mr. Ethan Hayes' voice, faintly amplified through Sarah Chen's discreetly placed phone. Ms. Beatrice B. Stone, too, caught up in her self-righteous tirade, remained oblivious to the corporate earthquake unfolding around her. She had just finished a dramatic, embellished phone call with airport security, informing them of a disruptive individual attempting to loiter and cause a scene. She now preened for the benefit of the curious and increasingly uncomfortable passengers and staff basking in the attention. Her eyes fixed on Mr. Alexander. Alex Vance gleamed with a self-satisfied malice, utterly convinced of her impending vindication. She saw only a problem to be solved, a box to be checked, and a promotion to be earned through her perceived diligence and unwavering adherence to her biased standards. The bustling gate area, usually a seamless portal to distant lands, had dramatically transformed into a crucible of public judgment. Gleaming boarding screens meant to inform now reflected the tense faces of onlookers. Passengers who had been checking their boarding passes or discussing their travel plans now stood in small, whispering groups, their murmurs growing louder, a mix of curiosity, discomfort, and subtle judgment permeating the air. Some whispered about the poor man and his children, their expressions softening with sympathy, while others, particularly those who shared B's implicit biases, nodded in agreement with her accusations, their faces hardened by their own preconceived notions. The air was thick with the suffocating weight of unspoken expectations and the palpable tension of a brewing storm. Alex, standing alone at the gate desk with his two small children clinging to his legs, felt the full force of this public scrutiny. His broad shoulders seemed to carry an invisible weight under the collective gaze, yet his posture remained stubbornly straight, a testament to the quiet dignity that had always been his anchor. Maya and Caleb, sensing the hostile atmosphere, buried their faces into their father's trousers, their earlier excitement replaced by silent fear. Mr. Ethan Hayes, head of global flight operations, listening intently through Sarah's discreetly placed phone, felt a cold, calculated fury solidify within him. He heard the rising murmurs of the crowd, the approaching airport security officers, the chilling confidence in B's voice as she continued to hurl veiled insults. This wasn't just about a denied boarding anymore. It was about the blatant systemic prejudice that allowed a gate manager in his airline to publicly humiliate a passenger unknowingly, their very CEO, based solely on her bias. This was an unmitigated disaster, a direct assault on everything Skylink Airlines and its core values of inclusivity and customer centricity stood for. He pictured Alex standing isolated yet resilient, a figure of quiet strength amidst the storm, his children hiding behind him. A wave of fierce professional pride mixed with a protective fury for the company's reputation and its visionary CEO washed over him. He also knew Alex's reputation for meticulous incognito assessments. This was no random act, but a deliberate exposure of a deep-seated problem. He allowed the silence on his end to stretch for a beat, letting the tension coil tighter, letting the distant crackle of airport security radios add to the inexorable pressure. He needed everyone present, the passengers, the staff, and most importantly B, to fully absorb the implications of what was happening. He needed them to witness the injustice in its rawest form before he unleashed the full devastating force of his, and by extension, Alex's authority. Suddenly, B's voice cut through the nervous hum, sharp and triumphant. "Ah, here they are. Finally! You see, sir. You see what happens when you try to circumvent our policies. Justice is swift." She straightened up, puffing out her chest, ready to greet the airport security officers who were now entering the gate area, their uniforms crisp, their faces stoic and professionally detached. She strode forward, extending a hand to the lead officer already rehearsing his embellished account of a difficult passenger and his decisive action. Ethan Hayes knew this was the exact moment. The ticking clock had run out for B. He wouldn't allow Alex or his children to be further traumatized, nor would he allow Skylink Airlines' values to be trampled. His decision was made with the swift, unyielding precision of a seasoned executive. This would not be a mere correction. It would be a complete public dismantling of prejudice, a lesson delivered with surgical accuracy and undeniable power. His voice, usually reserved for urgent conference calls and executive briefings, suddenly boomed through Terminal B's sophisticated public address system. It wasn't a gentle sound. It was a commanding, resonant declaration filling every corner of the vast terminal, cutting through the general hubbub and the last vestiges of B's smug pronouncements. The sound was startling, arresting. Every head in the terminal snapped towards the ceiling speakers, including B's, who was mid-handshake with the lead airport security officer. "Attention all Skylink Airlines personnel and patrons." Mr. Ethan Hayes' voice announced, calm and clear, yet imbued with an unmistakable authority that silenced every conversation, every whisper. His tone carried the weight of absolute corporate power, a force that demanded immediate, unquestioning obedience. "This is Ethan Hayes, head of global flight operations for Skylink Airlines. I am currently monitoring an incident unfolding at Gate B12 involving a passenger and your gate manager, Ms. Beatrice Stone. The impact was immediate and visceral. B, who had been preening for the arriving officers, literally froze mid-handshake, her jaw going slack. Her triumphant smirk evaporated, replaced by a mask of utter disbelief. The color drained from his face, leaving it a sickly, ashen pale. She looked up at the ceiling speakers, as if Hayes himself had manifested there, a spectral harbinger of his impending doom. The lead airport security officer quickly retracted his hand, his professional demeanor giving way to a look of confused alarm as he recognized the voice and the unexpected corporate intervention. Hayes's voice, now colder, sharper, continued to pierce the stunned silence. "Ms. Stone, I have been listening to your live feed, and your conduct this afternoon is not only utterly appalling, it is a gross violation of every principle Skylink Airlines stands for. Your baseless accusations, your discriminatory remarks, and your egregious mishandling of legitimate passengers, particularly your attempts to deny boarding based on appearance, are unacceptable and, frankly, indefensible." B tried to speak, to stammer a denial, but no sound escaped her throat. She looked around wildly, as if searching for an escape, a way to vanish from the public spotlight that had just turned on her with devastating intensity. Her arrogance, built on the shifting sands of her own prejudice, crumbled under the sheer weight of Hayes's authority. The arena had shifted. She was no longer the accuser. She was the accused, trapped, exposed, and utterly powerless. The ticking clock had not only run out for Alex and his children, but for B herself. Her downfall was now inevitable, and it would be witnessed by all. The distinct wail of airport security sirens, no longer distant, sliced through the refined air of the Terminal B gate area. Their flashing blue and red lights painted frantic, pulsing streaks across the grand entrance, visible through the terminal's polished glass doors. Ms. Beatrice B. Stone, puffed up with self-importance, beamed at the approaching chaos she had orchestrated, utterly convinced of her impending vindication. She adjusted her impeccably pressed uniform, mentally composing the commendation she expected for her heroic act of thwarting an unruly passenger. Her eyes, devoid of empathy, gleamed with a mix of ingrained prejudice and professional ambition. She saw only a problem to be solved, a box to be checked, and a promotion to be earned through her perceived diligence. The bustling gate area, usually a seamless portal to distant lands, had dramatically transformed into a crucible of public judgment. Gleaming boarding screens meant to inform now reflected the tense faces of onlookers. Passengers who had been checking their boarding passes or discussing their travel plans now stood in small, whispering groups, their murmurs growing louder. A palpable mix of curiosity, discomfort, and subtle judgment permeated the air. Some whispered about the poor man and his children, their expressions softening with sympathy, while others, particularly those who shared B's implicit biases, nodded in agreement with her accusations, their faces hardened by their own preconceived notions. The air was thick with the suffocating weight of unspoken expectations and the palpable tension of a brewing storm. Mr. Alexander Alex Vance, standing alone at the gate desk with his two small children clinging to his legs, felt the full force of this public scrutiny. His broad shoulders seemed to carry an invisible weight under the collective gaze, yet his posture remained stubbornly straight, a testament to the quiet dignity that had always been his anchor. Maya and Caleb, sensing the hostile atmosphere, buried their faces into their father's trousers, their earlier excitement replaced by silent fear. Mr. Ethan Hayes, head of Global Flight Operations, listening intently through Sarah Chen's discreetly placed phone, felt a cold, calculated fury solidify within him. He heard the rising murmurs of the crowd, the approaching airport security officers, the chilling confidence in B's voice. This wasn't just about a denied boarding anymore. It was about the blatant systemic prejudice that allowed a gate manager in his airline to publicly humiliate a passenger unknowingly, their very CEO, based solely on her bias. This was an unmitigated disaster, a direct assault on everything Skylink Airlines and its core values stood for. He pictured Alex, standing isolated yet resilient, a figure of quiet strength amidst the storm, his children hiding behind him. A wave of fierce professional pride mixed with a protective fury for the company's reputation washed over him. He knew Alex's reputation for meticulous incognito assessments. This was no random act, but a deliberate exposure of a deep-seated problem within their operational chain. He allowed the silence on his end to stretch for a beat, letting the tension coil tighter, letting the distant crackle of airport security radios add to the inexorable pressure. He needed everyone present, the passengers, the staff, and most importantly B, to fully absorb the implications of what was happening. He needed them to witness the injustice in its rawest form before he unleashed the full devastating force of his, and by extension, Alex's authority. Suddenly, B's voice cut through the nervous hum, sharp and triumphant. "Ah, here they are. Finally. You see, sir. You see what happens when you try to circumvent our policies. Justice is swift." She straightened up, puffing out her chest, ready to greet the airport security officers who were now entering the gate area. Their uniforms crisp, their faces stoic and professionally detached. She strode forward, extending a hand to the lead officer already rehearsing her embellished account of a difficult passenger and his decisive action. Ethan Hayes knew this was the exact moment. The ticking clock had run out for B. He wouldn't allow Alex or his children to be further traumatized, nor would he allow Skylink Airlines' values to be trampled. His decision was made with the swift, unyielding precision of a seasoned executive. This would not be a mere correction. It would be a complete public dismantling of prejudice, a lesson delivered with surgical accuracy and undeniable power. His voice, usually reserved for urgent conference calls and executive briefings, suddenly boomed through Terminal B's sophisticated public address system. It wasn't a gentle sound. It was a commanding, resonant declaration filling every corner of the vast terminal, cutting through the general hubbub and the last vestiges of B's smug pronouncements. The sound was startling, arresting. Every head in the terminal snapped towards the ceiling speakers, including B's, who was mid-handshake with the lead airport security officer. "Attention all Skylink Airlines personnel and patrons." Mr. Ethan Hayes' voice announced, calm and clear, yet imbued with an unmistakable authority that silenced every conversation, every whisper. His tone carried the weight of absolute corporate power, a force that demanded immediate, unquestioning obedience. "This is Ethan Hayes, head of global flight operations for Skylink Airlines. I am currently monitoring an incident unfolding at Gate B12 involving a passenger and your gate manager, Ms. Beatrice Stone. The impact was immediate and visceral." B, who had been preening for the arriving officers, literally froze mid-handshake, her jaw going slack. Her triumphant smirk evaporated, replaced by a mask of utter disbelief. The color drained from her face, leaving it a sickly, ashen pale. She looked up at the ceiling speakers as if Hayes himself had manifested there, a spectral harbinger of her impending doom. The lead airport security officer quickly retracted his hand, his professional demeanor giving way to a look of confused alarm as he recognized the voice and the unexpected corporate intervention. Hayes' voice, now colder, sharper, continued to pierce the stunned silence. "Ms. Stone, I have been listening to your live feed, and your conduct this afternoon is not only utterly appalling, it is a gross violation of every principle Skylink Airlines stands for. Your baseless accusations, your discriminatory remarks, and your egregious mishandling of legitimate passengers, particularly your attempts to deny boarding based on appearance, are unacceptable and frankly indefensible." B tried to speak, to stammer a denial, but no sound escaped her throat. She looked around wildly, as if searching for an escape, a way to vanish from the public spotlight that had just turned on her with devastating intensity. Her arrogance, built on the shifting sands of her own prejudice, crumbled under the sheer weight of Hayes' authority. The arena had shifted. She was no longer the accuser. She was the accused, trapped, exposed, and utterly powerless. The ticking clock had not only run out for Alex and his children, but for B herself. Her downfall was now inevitable, and it would be witnessed by all. The vibrant hum of Terminal B, previously a stage for Ms. Beatrice B. Stone's arrogant display, was now hushed into an almost reverent silence. Mr. Ethan Hayes' voice, amplified and chillingly calm, continued to reverberate through the terminal's public address system. The sudden public revelation of his ultimate authority, and the implicit power that came with it, had shattered B's world in an instant. Her previous arrogance had dissolved into abject horror, replaced by the gut-wrenching realization that she had just publicly humiliated the CEO of the entire airline she worked for and his innocent children. Hayes' voice, though disembodied, seemed to fill every inch of the terminal, his authority undeniable. "Ms. Stone," he continued each word, a hammer blow of condemnation. "Your blatant display of prejudice, your false accusations, and your egregious mishandling of legitimate passengers, particularly your attempts to deny boarding based on appearance, are unacceptable and frankly indefensible. The disruptive individuals you have been publicly harassing are Mr. Alexander Vance, the CEO of Skylink Airlines, and his children Maya and Caleb Vance, who are attempting to board their scheduled flight." A collective audible gasp swept through the gate area. Passengers who had been murmuring or watching with a mix of discomfort and judgment now exchanged wide-eyed, terrified glances. Whispers of "the CEO's here" and "his kids" rippled through the crowd, their expressions shifting from curiosity to utter astonishment, then to dawning shame as they realized they had been silent witnesses to such an egregious act of discrimination. The airport security officers who had entered the gate area moments earlier now stood rigidly, their faces mirroring the widespread shock, their initial purpose completely derailed by the unforeseen corporate earthquake. They knew the immense, almost untouchable power of Mr. Alexander Vance, CEO of Skylink Airlines, a company whose technological advancements and global reach were legendary in the aviation world. B, in a desperate, pathetic attempt to salvage her rapidly crumbling world, stammered, "No, this is a trick, a lie. He's lying. This man is lying. This is a setup." She gestured wildly at Alex, her voice cracking with a desperate, frantic energy, refusing to accept the catastrophic reality that was unfolding around her. She took a stumbling step forward as if to physically challenge the disembodied voice, her mind unable to reconcile her ingrained biases with the irrefutable truth now echoing through the entire terminal. Breathless moment. Just as B's desperate denial hung in the air, echoing her unraveling sanity, Ethan Hayes's voice cut her off sharp and final, leaving no room for doubt or rebuttal. "Ms. Stone." Hayes's voice boomed, now imbued with an unyielding steel. "Consider your employment with Skylink Airlines terminated immediately, effective immediately." The words were delivered with the clinical precision of a surgeon making an incision. "Your actions today are a direct violation of our core values of respect, integrity, and inclusivity. We will be conducting a full internal investigation into your discriminatory practices, and I assure you any further attempts at harassment or defamation will be met with the full force of Skylink Airlines legal department. You will be hearing from our legal team shortly regarding the full implications of your misconduct." He then paused for a beat, letting his next statement sink in, a statement that would send shockwaves through the entire airport. Furthermore, due to Ms. Stone's gross misconduct, unauthorized denial of boarding, and the severe disruption she has caused to our CEO's family and the reputation of this airline, I am initiating an immediate system-wide ground stop for all Skylink Airlines flights departing from this terminal. No flight will depart until this matter is fully resolved and reviewed by my direct team and Mr. Vance. The terminal's automated announcement system suddenly changed. The gentle, pre-recorded voice of a female announcer was replaced by a stern, robotic tone. "Attention all Skylink passengers. Due to unforeseen operational circumstances, all flights departing from Terminal B are currently experiencing a ground stop. We apologize for the inconvenience." The sheer magnitude of this decision, grounding an entire terminal's operations, sent a shockwave through the airport. Passengers gasped louder, some openly exclaiming in disbelief. Flight information screens flickered, changing from boarding or on time to delayed indefinitely. B collapsed against the gate desk, utterly speechless, her face a mask of abject horror and total defeat. Her arrogance crumbled into pathetic, humiliated silence. The unraveling B slid to the floor, a pathetic, defeated figure. Her face was a mask of sheer horror, her eyes wide and unseeing, staring into the abyss of her ruined career and reputation. The arrogant sneer, the triumphant posture, the meticulous control, all had vanished, replaced by the image of a broken, humiliated woman. She tried to speak again, a choked, guttural sound, but no words formed. She was utterly speechless, consumed by the magnitude of her downfall. The police officers initially approaching Alex now turned to B, their faces grim and professional, their demeanor shifting from routine inquiry to formal escort. Sarah Chen, the flight attendant who had stood witness to B's entire performance, now stepped forward, a look of profound relief and vindication on her face. She looked at Alex, offering him a subtle, affirming nod, a silent acknowledgement of his quiet strength and the justice that had just been served. She then moved towards B, her expression grim but determined. "Miss Stone, you heard Mr. Hayes. Let's go." The airport security officers, now fully briefed and understanding the unprecedented corporate power at play, calmly approached B and without resistance escorted her away, her pathetic figure disappearing around the corner of the gate area. Witness reactions. The other passengers who had been judgmental or merely curious now looked at Alex with a mixture of awe and profound respect. Several people discreetly gave him sympathetic smiles or small affirming nods, some even offering hushed apologies for their earlier assumptions. A few brave souls even offered quiet words of support. The atmosphere in the terminal, which had been thick with tension, now hummed with a quiet collective sigh of relief, quickly followed by murmurs of shock and admiration for Ethan Hayes' decisive intervention, and by extension, the unseen power of Mr. Alexander Vance. Alex, though still processing the whirlwind of emotions and the distress of his children, felt a powerful surge of validation. His quiet dignity had been acknowledged, his family's innocence vindicated, and the injustice they endured had been met with swift, undeniable justice. The bustling gate area, once an arena of his humiliation, had transformed into a stage for his triumph, a quiet CEO's vindication witnessed by all. Maya and Caleb, seeing their father's calm power and the respect he commanded, subtly leaned into him, a shared understanding passing between them, their fear slowly giving way to a nascent sense of pride. The opulent hush returned to Terminal B, but it was a different kind of quiet now. The palpable tension had dissipated, replaced by a lingering aura of awe and a profound sense of justice delivered. Ms. Beatrice B. Stone, her face still a mask of horror and disbelief, was summarily escorted from the premises by airport security, her pathetic figure shrinking with each step away from the scene of her public disgrace. Her arrogance, once her defining characteristic, had utterly evaporated, leaving behind only the bitter taste of ruin. Skylink Airlines wasted no time. Following Ethan Hayes' directive, a full internal investigation was immediately launched into B's conduct. Within days, the audit uncovered a disturbing pattern, a litany of suppressed passenger complaints, particularly from minority passengers, detailing similar instances of subtle discrimination, unwarranted scrutiny, and outright denial of service based on appearance. It became chillingly clear that B had meticulously cultivated a culture of prejudice at her gate, subtly intimidating other gate agents who might challenge her, and meticulously crafting a profile of who was worthy of Skylink's premium service. The evidence was damning. Skylink Airlines' legal department wasted no time initiating a civil suit against B for defamation and systemic bias, ensuring she faced not just professional ruin, but also significant legal consequences. Her reputation in the aviation industry was irrevocably destroyed. Blacklisted from every reputable airline and airport, she quickly found herself unemployable and ostracized, left with nothing but the bitter ashes of her own prejudice and the crushing weight of her colossal misjudgment. While B's downfall was swift and absolute, the reaction of others involved took a different turn. Mr. Lawrence Thorne, the head of terminal operations for Terminal B, was next on Ethan Hayes' and then directly Alex Vance's call list. Lawrence was a long-standing, seemingly competent manager, known for his meticulous attention to operational details, and for consistently meeting efficiency targets for the terminal. However, his competency had been marred by a critical blind spot, a complacent reliance on his gate managers, including B. Stone, to handle day-to-day passenger interactions, effectively turning a blind eye to their subtle, yet deeply damaging discriminatory practices. He had been too focused on the terminal's on-time departure rates and passenger flow metrics to truly scrutinize the how behind those numbers, allowing B's prejudices to fester unchecked and create a toxic environment for both passengers and staff. When Ethan Hayes first recounted B's behavior and the immediate ground stop decision, Lawrence's initial reaction was a mixture of shock and disbelief. But B, she's always been so efficient with boarding times. He stammered, genuinely taken aback. But as Hayes and then Alex himself systematically laid out the evidence, the suppressed complaints, the clear pattern of bias, the public humiliation of the CEO and his children in his own terminal, Lawrence's defensiveness crumbled. A wave of genuine remorse washed over him. He realized the depth of the humiliation Alex and his family had endured, and the systemic issues within his own organization that had allowed it to happen. He had trusted B, but more profoundly, he had failed to truly lead, to instill the values of true inclusivity that Skylink Airlines championed. Mr. Vance. Lawrence said, his voice thick with uncharacteristic humility, I am profoundly sorry for what you and your children experienced today and for the environment that allowed such a vile display of prejudice to occur under my management. I assure you this is utterly unacceptable, a gross dereliction of my duty to our passengers and to Skylink Airlines' true values. I see now that this was not just an isolated incident, but a symptom of systemic complacency and a failure to actively ensure an equitable environment. I vow to rectify this, immediately and comprehensively. He was a Noi Hu Lam person who misunderstood in the purest sense, not malicious, but arrogant and complacent, in his focus on numbers, blinded by the perceived invulnerability of his position and a lack of direct oversight on customer experience beyond metrics. Lawrence Thorne kept his word. Within days, Terminal B, under his direct and immediate supervision, issued a heartfelt public apology to Mr. Alexander Vance and his family, making headlines for its rare honesty and humility in the aviation industry. Internally, Lawrence implemented a sweeping mandatory anti-discrimination training program for all terminal staff, from gate agents to baggage handlers to customer service representatives and executive leadership. He personally oversaw the establishment of a new passenger dignity and inclusivity protocol, ensuring that every complaint of discrimination was investigated with the utmost urgency and transparency. He actively sought out diverse talent for new hires, fostering an environment where merit, empathy, and respect truly reigned. As a gesture of personal atonement and a commitment to genuine change, he reached out to Skylink Airlines' community outreach programs, offering the terminal's facilities for free aviation and travel workshops for underserved youth, an offer Alex, recognizing genuine remorse, graciously accepted. Mr. Lawrence Thorne, once complacent, became a vocal advocate for diversity and inclusion within the aviation industry, actively partnering with Skylink Airlines on new initiatives, a testament to the powerful, transformative impact of Alex Vance's quiet resolve and his profound commitment to ethical change. He kept his job, but on strict probation, forced to rebuild trust and redefine his leadership. Back in the now peaceful private lounge, generously offered by the apologetic airport staff and heavily guarded by Skylink security, Alex sat across from Sarah Chen, the senior flight attendant. The opulent room felt different, lighter, almost cleansed of the earlier tension. Sarah still looked a little awestruck by the swift and absolute nature of the CEO's intervention, but her eyes held a deep, unwavering respect. Maya and Caleb, initially quiet and shaken, were now drawing calmly in sketchbooks provided by Sarah, their earlier distress beginning to fade under their father's comforting presence. "Sarah," Alex began, his voice soft but firm, "I want to personally thank you. Your quick thinking, your integrity, and your willingness to act in a difficult situation made all the difference today. You upheld the true values of this airline even when your colleague did not." Sarah, humbled, shifted slightly in her seat. "It was just my job, Mr. Vance. I've been with Skylink a long time. I've seen things. And I knew that card. I knew what it meant. And I knew what was right. Ms. Stone. She was always like that, always judging. I'm just glad someone finally saw her for what she was." She then reflected on the systemic issues, her brow furrowed. "It's a relief to see change coming from the top, sir. We needed it." Alex nodded slowly, his gaze thoughtful. He glanced at his children, now engrossed in their drawings. "This incident, while deeply unpleasant, has crystallized something for me, Sarah. It showed me firsthand the insidious nature of unchecked prejudice even within an organization I lead. It's a microcosm of a larger problem. People like Ms. Stone exist. They prey on perceived weakness, on differences. But true strength isn't about shouting the loudest or being the most aggressive. It's about quiet dignity, unwavering integrity, and knowing who you are and what you stand for. It's about being prepared to stand up, not just for yourself, but for what is right for those who don't have a voice." He pulled out his sleek black Skylink Platinum Executive Access card, turning it over in his fingers. "This card," he said, tapping it lightly. "It's not just about access, Sarah. It's about responsibility. It's about recognizing the power we have and using it not for personal gain or to intimidate, but to make sure that others, especially those who don't have a voice, are treated with fairness and respect." He smiled, a genuine warm smile. "You handled yourself with incredible grace today, Sarah. You are exactly the kind of person we need in leadership here." Sarah, a quiet woman, felt a surge of pride. She simply nodded, a silent acknowledgement of his words. For Alex, the incident, while terrifying in the moment, had become a pivotal one. It had underscored the depth of his commitment to ethical business and social justice. More importantly, it had subtly but profoundly boosted his confidence in his public role. He had faced down an aggressor, stood his ground, and witnessed justice unfold before his eyes, not just as a victim, but as the quiet, ultimate authority. The fear had not vanished entirely, but it had been replaced by a quiet resolve, a new understanding of his place in the world, and a burgeoning desire to use his own intelligence and immense influence for good. The soft hum of the airport terminal, now free of Beestone's venom, felt like a prelude to a future filled with purpose, a future where such injustices would be systematically dismantled. 10 years later, the morning sun, warm and golden, streamed through the expansive glass facade of the newly constructed Skylink Airlines global headquarters. It wasn't just an office building. It was a living monument to Mr. Alexander Alex Vance's vision, meticulously brought to life under his unwavering leadership. Rows of gleaming transparent solar panels now adorned its roof, and south-facing walls silently harnessing the energy of the day. Inside, the design was open, collaborative, and infused with biophilic elements. Living walls, natural light, and quiet zones for focused work. Beyond the bustling open-plan offices, a vibrant community outreach center, a public green space, and a cutting-edge aerospace research lab bustled with activity. The air hummed not with the sterile quiet of an old-world corporation, but with the innovative energy of collective purpose and shared ambition. Skylink Airlines, under Alex's increasingly influential guidance, had solidified its position as a global leader in ethical aviation technology and sustainable innovation, consistently outperforming its competitors and earning widespread acclaim, not just for its groundbreaking advancements, but for its unwavering integrity and profound social impact. Mr. Alexander. Alex Vance, now in his early 60s, was an even more formidable and globally revered figure. His once quiet influence had blossomed into widespread recognition, not for self-promotion, but for the tangible positive change he brought to the world. He still possessed that methodical scientific mind, but it was now coupled with a seasoned executive's strategic acumen and an even deeper well of empathy. He had transformed Skylink Airlines into a household name, synonymous not only with cutting-edge sustainable mobility in the skies, but also with corporate integrity and social responsibility. The airline's vast global network, completely revitalized under his direct oversight and infused with Skylink's eco-friendly technologies, was now consistently ranked as the world's leading sustainable and inclusive airline, winning countless awards for its exceptional customer service, its incredibly diverse staff, and its unwavering commitment to equitable practices. Alex, though still valuing his privacy, now embraced his public role as a thought leader, using his platform to advocate for systemic change on a global scale. His personal life, once marked by the intense solitude of a driven widower, was now rich and fulfilling. While still cherishing his quiet moments of intellectual pursuit, he actively sought connection and collaboration beyond his professional sphere. His elegant minimalist home, a space of thoughtful design and cherished books, often hosted lively discussions with friends and colleagues, filled with the hum of intellectual curiosity and genuine laughter. Maya and Caleb, now thriving young adults aged 20, were pursuing their own passions, deeply inspired by their father's quiet strength and profound commitment to justice. Maya was studying aerospace engineering, already interning at Skylink's Advanced Research Lab, while Caleb was a burgeoning environmental advocate pursuing a degree in sustainable urban planning. They were often seen by Alex's side at public events, a testament to the family's shared values and enduring bond. Alex had also found a genuine connection with Dr. Isabella Reyes, a brilliant climatologist and renewable energy expert he had met at a global sustainability summit. Isabella admired his vision, shared his passion for a better world, and deeply respected his fierce independence and quiet strength. Their conversations were lively, their respect mutual, and their companionship a gentle balm to his once guarded heart. On this particular afternoon, Alex stood beside Mr. Ethan Hayes, now the proud and highly effective Chief Operating Officer of Skylink Airlines' Global Flight Operations and Customer Experience Division. He was no longer just the head of flight operations, but a confident, articulate leader, his natural intelligence and quiet strength, honed by Alex's mentorship, and his own unwavering commitment to ethical leadership. He had spearheaded the company's internal ethical audits across all Skylink properties, ensuring every new service, every passenger interaction, and every staff training module adhered to rigorous fairness and transparency standards, turning Alex's bold vision into tangible reality. He often found himself reflecting on that fateful day at Terminal B, the quiet man at the gate counter, who had unknowingly set a chain of events into motion that transformed his own career and the entire airline. He had seen the legend unfold, and now he was helping to write its next groundbreaking chapter. The Skylink Global Passenger Equity Initiative just secured its 10th major international partnership. Mr. Vance, Ethan, reported a proud smile on his face. Our fair boarding practices and accessible travel programs are truly making a difference, and our inclusivity standards are being adopted as a benchmark by other major airlines worldwide. Excellent, Ethan, Alex replied, his eyes sweeping over the bustling hub, a symbol of their shared triumph. Your dedication has been instrumental in making this dream a reality. You truly embody the spirit of Skylink Airlines reimagined. Ethan shrugged modestly, but his pride was evident. I learned from the best, Mr. Vance. You showed me what was possible. You showed me that an airline could be about more than just making profit. It could be about doing good, about making a real impact on people's lives, and about fostering genuine respect for every passenger, no matter their background. This resonated deeply with Alex. His journey from a father denied boarding in his own airline to a global leader of an ethical empire wasn't just about financial success. It was about purpose. The quiet wisdom he had cultivated, the lessons from his favorite scientific pioneers who pushed boundaries with integrity, had all converged into a powerful philosophy of paying it forward. His commitment to this philosophy manifested in tangible ways. Alex, with the full backing of Skylink Airlines, established the Vance Family Global Equity Fund, a multi-billion-dollar foundation. This fund was dedicated to providing scholarships, comprehensive mentorship, and crucial seed funding for aspiring Black and minority entrepreneurs in aerospace engineering, aviation management, and customer experience technology. The fund also actively supported legal aid organizations, fighting discrimination in public accommodations and travel environments, ensuring that the injustices he had experienced and witnessed would be met with legal recourse for others. The fund was housed in a beautifully renovated wing of his alma mater, a symbolic bridge between academia and cutting-edge industry. He personally advised and invested in several startups, ensuring they had the resources and guidance to succeed. He also frequently gave keynote speeches at prestigious universities, international tech conferences, and forums on social justice, sharing his incredible story with compelling honesty. His talks always covered his early career struggles, his deep love for his family, the shock of the Terminal B incident, and the broader societal battle against prejudice. His message was clear. True power lies not in wealth or status alone, but in using one's position to dismantle injustice and create equitable opportunities for all. He was a living testament that courage could indeed alter destinies, and that light always found a path, even in the deepest darkness. Many of the young men and women he mentored saw in him the vibrant, ambitious scientist from his early days, now fully realized and empowered his legend, inspiring a new generation. One afternoon, a young woman named Aisha, a recent graduate from a historically Black university and a recipient of the Vance Family Global Equity Fund scholarship, approached Alex after one of his talks. Aisha was struggling to launch her ethically sourced AI-driven aerospace component manufacturing startup, facing similar skepticism and resource limitations that Alex had once encountered in the early days of Skylink Airlines. Mr. Vance. Aisha began, her voice filled with admiration and a hint of desperation. Your story. It gives me so much hope. But I feel like I'm constantly hitting brick walls. Investors just don't take me seriously. They see me as just another diversity hire trying to overreach into a male-dominated field. Alex smiled warmly, a genuine empathy in his eyes. Brick walls are just opportunities to find a new path, Aisha. Sometimes you have to build your own door, brick by brick, with integrity and unwavering belief. Tell me, what are your biggest challenges right now? And what solutions have you already explored? They sat for over an hour in a quiet corner of the university hall, Alex listening intently, offering practical advice, connecting Aisha with key Skylink Airlines engineers and ethical sourcing contacts, and reminding her of the fierce inner strength she possessed. As Aisha left her face alight with renewed determination and a clear path forward, Alex felt a profound sense of fulfillment. This was the true reward, helping others unlock their own legends, to illuminate their own paths forward, and to pay forward the opportunities he had earned. The final image of Alex's story finds him standing on the observation deck of a gleaming, newly opened terminal, specifically designed by Skylink for maximum accessibility and comfort for all passengers regardless of their needs. It's late afternoon, and the setting sun casts a warm golden glow across the sleek modern architecture. Below them, a fleet of Skylink's newest, most sustainable aircraft, powered entirely by recycled biofuels, prepares for departure, its diverse flight crews smiling and waving. Beside him stand Maya and Caleb, now confident and empathetic young adults, their faces reflecting the values their father instilled. Sarah Chen, now a highly respected director of global in-flight experience and customer relations, approaches them, a look of profound respect and genuine camaraderie on her face, ready to board with a team of new flight attendants who embody Skylink's inclusive values. The terminal, once the arena of his family's humiliation, is now a beacon of inclusivity, bustling with diverse passengers and staff from all walks of life, a living testament to Alex's transformative vision. Alex smiles, a deep, contented smile that reaches his eyes. The incident with the gate manager, B. Stone, once a source of deep pain and public humiliation, has been transformed into the very genesis of his amplified purpose, turning a moment of darkness into a lifelong spring of light and inspiration, illuminating the path for countless others who would follow. If this story stirred your heart, if it reminds you that courage can alter destinies and that light always finds a path even in the deepest darkness, please leave a comment. Share this story with those who need inspiration. Like, subscribe, and hit the bell to never miss our upcoming stories.